Okay. Ayubawan. Very nice to be here today at BMICH for another teaching day. I travel to many places in the world, and it is a privilege to be able to share the Dhamma of the Lord Buddha with as many people as I can. The teachings of the Lord Buddha have given me so much peace and happiness that it is now my turn to share that peace and happiness with others. And in order to share that peace and happiness with others, it's not enough just to teach nor to study, that we do have to learn how to practice as well. Because the teachings of the Buddha are not just to be worshipped, they're to be acted upon in our life. The Buddha taught for the happiness of every human being, and if we follow the advice of the great teacher, then we too will have happiness. And one of those aspects of the Buddha's teachings is how to bring peace of mind into our hearts. When our minds have peace, then our lives are likely to have peace, and our family will be at peace, our country will be at peace, and maybe even our world will be at peace too. How can you have a peaceful world when people have hatred and revenge and personal desires in their heart? So in order to create a peaceful world, we have to start by creating a peaceful heart. And in order to create a peaceful heart, we have these wonderful teachings of the Buddha about meditation, bhavana, on how to make your heart so peaceful that you do not need to seek for so many possessions in our world. We don't need so much when we have peace inside. When there's happiness inside, we don't need to look for it outside. When there's peace inside, we tend not to get angry at other people. We tend to understand human beings' nature. It is like the person who gets angry at the dog for barking. I never met a dog in Sri Lanka, in USA or Australia. I've never met a dog yet which doesn't bark. So when you get angry at a dog for barking, you are being crazy. And it's also like the person who gets angry at his wife for nagging, nag, 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 nag. I've never seen a wife anywhere in the whole world who doesn't nag, 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 nag. If you get angry at your husband for not doing all the work, that is the same all over the world. Husbands always say to their wives, "I will do it later, darling," and never ever do it. That is the nature of husbands. So when we know the nature of things, we tend not to get angry. We live a much more peaceful life. So in order to live that more peaceful life, we have to learn to train our mind. Meditation is about making our mind still. I mentioned this simile earlier in my teachings in Sri Lanka, that you can imagine a lake in the mountains. When that lake has waves on its surface, you will never get a true reflection in the lake of the moon and stars in the sky above. Because of the waves, the image will be distorted. In the same way, if your mind is not still, you will never see things as they truly are. Your insight, your understanding will be distorted. So the path of meditation is learning how to keep our mind perfectly still so calm that just like a lake without waves, acts like a mirror, perfectly reflecting the moon and the stars above. In the same way, when our mind is still, it perfectly reflects the truth of things. As the Buddha often said, from samadhi, from stillness, you see the way things truly are. So our job is to learn how to get the mind to be still. First of all, even today, some people call samadhi concentration. Meditation is nothing to do with concentration. Concentration is what you do with force. In the West, we have many meditation camps. Places and times people can go to learn meditation for 9 days, 14 days, or even longer. And if meditation was about concentration, these would become concentration camps. And that's not a pleasant place for people to be. This is not concentration camps, it's stillness. And once we understand that meditation means stillness, calming, peace of mind, then we understand how to meditate. My water here is not for drinking. It is for my visual aid, my special effects. I am now going to hold this glass of water perfectly still. I know this is photographed, videoed in the other halls. Welcome everybody. I'll be coming to your hall later on. If I try and hold a glass of water perfectly still, I will never be able to achieve my goal. The water is moving. So what should I do? Try harder. Concentrate. And I find when I try harder, the water moves even more. Now this is the way that most people meditate. They try to hold their mind still. And when it doesn't work, they try even harder. And they get very frustrated. And many people give up meditation because they think it doesn't work. It does work if you know how to meditate correctly. If I want this glass of water to become still, there's a very easy way to achieve that. All I need to do is let it go. Put it down and relax and be patient. And every second, that water moves less and less and less. And even now, that water is perfectly still. That is how we meditate. To let go of all your controlling. Have you ever noticed that the Buddha always talked about being selfless, not worrying about yourself, being able to come closer and closer to anatta, non-self? But have you also noticed that those people who control the most, what we call in the West control freaks, are the ones with the biggest ego? The truth of the matter is, the more you control, the bigger your sense of self. The more you let go, the more your sense of self starts to disappear. You get closer and closer to the realization of anatta, non-self. The more you let go, the more you control, the bigger your ego. And you find those people who control a lot get very angry. Why? Because you cannot control the world. You cannot control the dog and tell the dog to stop barking. And so, because you are a control freak rather than letting things be, you get angry and upset and have big ego. So where we learn how to let things go, not only does our mind become still, not only do we understand the Dhamma, we tend not to have so much anger in our lives. We are more peaceful inside and peaceful outside as well. If you practice meditation correctly, things become very calm, very peaceful, very still. And then you see things as they truly are. The calm gives rise to insight. But as we meditate, it's sometimes difficult to put things down all at once. So we do things stage by stage. So the first thing to let go of is our body. Sometimes you've been working hard, sometimes you're old, sometimes you are sick. So in places like Australia, many people have too much difficulty meditating on the floor, crossing their legs and holding their back straight. That is like torture. And Buddhism is supposed to be a very compassionate religion. We are known for our kindness, except when we ask for people to meditate and then we torture them. Cross your legs in full lotus. Put your back straight. Don't move. In Guantanamo Bay, that's called, what is it, when you have these unpleasant postures which you have to stay in for long periods of time. That's a form of torture. And that is nothing to do with meditation. You sit comfortably in a chair, on cushions, wherever you can find comfort for your body. Straight away, many people do not like meditation because they're afraid of the pain. And of course, that keeps a lot of people away from the benefits of meditation. So number one, sit comfortably. In Western countries, it's amazing, the industry for meditation cushions is growing and growing and growing. Designer-made meditation cushions, where you can press a button and the back comes up or the side comes up, so you can press the buttons and arrange the posture just as you like. And I wanted to start a company one day for meditation cushions, so you can actually, like some of the toilets, you can actually heat it. If it's too cold, you're meditating in, say, England, you can press a button and the meditation gives you warmth from underneath. Or if it's too hot, like in Colombo, you can actually cool it down. The whole point is making it comfortable for you. And if it is comfortable, it's much easier to meditate. A little story, when I was in Thailand meditating, it was so hot, so humid, it was so difficult to overcome sleepiness because this body was made in England. This little tattoo in here, made in England. I'm not used to hot weather. But one day I was visiting Bangkok. I spent the night in a new monastery, and they had one room which was air conditioned. And we got permission to use that at 3 o'clock in the morning, and we meditated in there, and the first time in weeks, I had no sleepiness at all. It was just so comfortable. And that taught me a lesson. Please do not try to torture your body when you meditate. Keep it comfortable, keep it cool or warm, whatever you like, and that helps a lot. Please remember our Lord Buddha, where he became enlightened, was not in some harsh environment. It was under the shade of a beautiful tree, in a park next to a river, not too hot, not too cold, sitting on a thick grass cushion. Our Lord Buddha became enlightened. He needed that comfort for his body, not too much, not too little, in order to find peace. So when you meditate, spend the first 2 or 3 minutes getting yourself comfortable, fidgeting, scratching, even coughing. There is something in meditation which I call the volcano effect. And that is when people feel like coughing and they decide not to, because they do not want to disturb anybody. All that happens is the pressure starts to build up. And it builds and builds and builds like the magma in the volcano, until the pressure becomes so great. They cough so loudly, and it wakes everybody up. Even in the house next door they can hear it, and the dogs start barking, and there's a great big noise. If only they'd have coughed straight away, there wouldn't have been a problem. And just like volcanoes erupting, it spreads all this rubbish over the whole area. Just like when you cough, because you didn't cough quickly, it spreads all this very unhealthy spray over the people sitting behind you, in front of you, and next to you. So this is an example. Be kind to the body. A little cough, and then it's done with, and you're peaceful. So first of all, we learn how to relax our body. And once you learn how to relax your body, then you can learn how to relax your mind. You know how we have tension in our body? We also have tension in our mind, in our mental world. We have events from the past which keep pulling at us, trying to make us reconsider what happened, why it happened. It's a tension, a tightness which pulls us, which stops us being free. We have this attraction like a magnet pulling us into the future, wanting us to plan, to arrange things, to think what we're going to do for the future. That's the tension, the stress and the strain in the mind, which stops us being peaceful. So once we've relaxed our body, the next thing is to relax our mind, so we can let go of the past and the future. How do you do that? We all know you cannot change the past, but can you let go of it? We all know the future is uncertain, but can you stop planning it? The way you do this, like the way that you relax your body, is with a combination of mindfulness, sati, and compassion or kindness with maitri. Those two together are the powerful forces which cause peace in your body and peace in your mind. Since the last time I came to Sri Lanka, a little event happened which I'm going to share with you about how to relax the body and how to relax the mind. A couple of years ago, in my monastery in Australia, I had food poisoning. As a Buddhist monk, we have no control over what you feed us. We do not know what's in the curry. And so, having gastritis, having indigestion, even food poisoning is what I call an occupational hazard for a monk. But please be careful, because talking with some monks last night, I found out they told me that over 50% of your bhikkhus have stomach problems. Whose fault is that? You, the dayakas. Please be careful of what you feed the monks. Not so much oil, not so much chili, not so much salt. If some monks like that, you can put that in a separate little bowl, extra salt or extra chili for you, so those who want some can take some. But most of the monks here, I've been told, have stomach problems. And it's not because they don't eat in the evening, it's what they eat at lunchtime. That's the problem. So please look after your bhikkhus. Don't just give them what you think is the best. Ask them, do some research, find out what is going to be healthy for them. But, nevertheless, even in Australia, sometimes we get it wrong. And one day I had such bad indigestion, it was food poisoning. And when you have food poisoning, you have these incredibly painful cramps in your tummy. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Now, when you monks give a talk, don't just sit here and give a talk. Please give the drama as well. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And then no one falls asleep during the Dhammadesana. So, I had these terrible stomach cramps. And I was in the cave where I live in Australia. And it was very, very, very painful. And basically it's too far away. In Aranyas, the doctors are too far away, so it's a waste of time calling an ambulance or calling a doctor. You'll be dead before the ambulance arises. But we don't need doctors and ambulances if you know how to meditate, to know the nature of the body and the nature of the mind. So what I did, I was aware of the terrible pain in my intestines. And number two, I was kind to it. I gave it this beautiful compassion. I remember as a young boy, my parents were very poor. I grew up in a very poor part of West London with many immigrants. And in that part of West London, I spent so many days playing soccer. Not in a field, there wasn't a field around, in the street. And if you ever played soccer in the street, whenever you go for a tackle, you fall on the ground and you scrape the skin off your knees. I always had scabs on my knees from playing soccer in the street. And as soon as I scraped the skin off my knees and blood started coming out, I would run to my mother. She would kneel down, kiss it better, give it a kiss, then put a bandage on, no washing, just kiss it, bandage on, and I was back playing soccer within 2 minutes. It always healed. And as soon as she kissed it, the pain disappeared immediately. I always remember that. Later on, when I studied biology, I thought, how can that work? My mother is putting all these germs in her mouth on top of an open wound. But it never got infected. Why? Because of the kindness. And it took the pain away, which is important. And so when I was kind to the pain in my stomach and my guts, every little bit of kindness, the pain grew a little bit less. My mindfulness was enough to give me feedback. I could see the pain diminishing. A little bit more kindness, less pain. More kindness, less pain. And it took only 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, there was no pain left at all. The food poisoning had totally vanished. And it was amazing to be able to do that. No drugs, no aspirin or paracetamol, just mindfulness and kindness together, and the pain totally vanished. 20 minutes. To this day, I can't understand exactly what happened, because food poisoning is caused by bacteria making havoc, in your intestines. But what I really imagine must have happened, that all those bacteria, instead of messing around, making havoc in my tummy, after half an hour or 20 minutes rather of mindfulness and kindness, so all those little bacteria were crossing themselves and meditating inside my tummy. And because they were meditating and being peaceful, they weren't causing me any trouble. I imagine that, visualize that. These bacteria with little tentacles all over the place, all crossed in meditation. But whatever the cause was, it happened. That is how you can use mindfulness and kindness to relax the body. Healing happens and you become so peaceful. That's how I relax my body, with mindfulness and kindness. That's how I relax my mind, with mindfulness and kindness. If there is something which happened in the past, I don't try to get rid of it. Trying to get rid of things in meditation causes you mental stress. You will never have any peace. I am aware of some memory from the past, and I am kind to it. When I am kind to it, it gets less hard, less painful, until, like my tummy ache, it vanishes completely. Any fear of the future, I am aware of that fear of the future, that plan, that anxiety. I do not try to get rid of it, otherwise it makes that fear harder. I am aware of it and kind to it. When I'm kind to the future, it vanishes. That is how we let go of aches and pains in the body and aches and pains in the future and in the past, with a combination of mindfulness and kindness. For those of you who have been following the progress of Buddhism in Western countries, you may have noticed that mindfulness is such a popular practice now that is taught in hospitals and in schools, and even very recently, the British House of Commons had 1 minute of mindfulness when all the MPs in the House of Commons in Westminster sat still and did mindfulness for 1 minute. Only 1 minute, but at least it's a start. And I've asked, has your parliament done that yet? And that's Britain. That's an atheist Christian country. You're supposed to be Buddhist. You should at least do 2 minutes. But that's mindfulness. That is not enough. Mindfulness plus kindness. When you add mindfulness and kindness, you get a new Buddhist word, kindfulness. I like inventing new words. So kindfulness, kindness plus mindfulness is how to meditate. So you are kindful to your past, kindful to your future, and then it does not bother you anymore. Then it disappears, and you can let it go. And you come into this amazing place called the present moment. You may have known that author in the West, Eckhart Tolle. He made a fortune out of printing a book called The Power of Now. It's just what the Buddha taught in 2,500, 600 years ago. But now these Westerners, they're finding out the great value of these teachings and they're exploiting it. But we Buddhist monks and other teachers, we should do that too. Because it's basic Buddhism, letting go of the past and the future with kindfulness. And you come into this present moment. I ask you, where is your future being made? When is the only time you can do anything for your future? It's right now. This is where life is happening. This is the only time you can develop anything. This is the only time you can have peace and happiness. Right now. So the more we learn how to come into this present moment, the place your future is being made, the more healthy, happy, prosperous will be our future. If you are concerned about the future, for goodness sake, be concerned at where your future is being made right now. So that helps us let go of all the past and all the future. And you're here in this present moment. Now what do? Remember what all doing is, all wanting, all struggling, is looking to some place in the future, thinking you want to be there rather than being here. It's called craving, desire. That is the obstacle to meditation. Craving, desire. My teacher, Ajahn Brahm, would often hold his hand up and wave it up and down. When he first did this, I thought he was saying bye-bye. But he wasn't saying goodbye. He was saying, this is a leaf on a tree. And it only moves like this because there's a wind blowing. It's not natural for a leaf to move. When the wind stops, the leaf moves less and less until it comes to a perfect state of stillness. Because that is the nature of a leaf, to be perfectly still. In the same way, the nature of your mind is to be still. It only moves because of the wind of wanting something. If you don't want anything, your mind moves less and less until it becomes still all by itself. It's hard to stop wanting because that's our nature as human beings. Even you may not want, you monks, nuns, you may not want material things, but now you want spiritual things. You want jhanas, you want sowan, anagami, arahat. Those wantings stop the mind being peaceful. Even wanting good things makes the mind move. So we try and let go of all wanting, all craving. And the way to do that is let go of all past and future. In the present moment, you have no space to want something. You have to have some idea of the future to want to get somewhere else. When there's only the present moment, only now, that just stops nearly all of the wanting. Which is why I say that's the first stage of meditation. And for some people, that's the most important, to get into this very moment where there can't be any craving. And to stay in that moment with kindness. Have you ever noticed that people who are kind and compassionate towards you, you like staying with them? People who are nasty and angry and critical, you can't get away from them fast enough. Kind people are very attractive. Nasty, controlling people, you want to run away. That is one of the problems with Buddhist monasteries. The monks are so kind that all these dogs and cats, they come and stay with you. There was one monastery in Bangkok, the monks are so kind that so many dogs came to stay in that monastery. The abbot had no choice but to build a big multi-story building for the dogs. The dogs in Bangkok now live in an apartment block. Well, he had to put them somewhere, so he put them up there. But that's what happens. Kindness attracts people to you. And kindness attracts the present moment to you. It stays with you. Sometimes when people meditate, sometimes they wander around all over the place. Their minds are very restless. They can't stop thinking. Have you ever understood why people can't be peaceful? One of the reasons is they're afraid of peace. You're afraid because you're not used to it. It is like a person who's been in prison for 30, 40 years, and they're about to be released from prison the next day into freedom. And they are so scared of leaving prison because they don't know what it's like outside. That is the same reason why people are afraid of peace, because you're not really quite sure what it's like. You've been restless and busy all your life. So many people prefer to stay in jail rather than be peaceful. So you do need a little bit of faith, a little bit of kindness, and then you find you can stay in the present moment when you are kind to it. The opposite of kindness is what we call fault finding. It's not good enough. It's not peaceful enough. It's not beautiful enough. People who have fault-finding minds can never find peace anywhere in this world. Your beautiful wife, she's not good enough. Your hard-working husband, he's not successful enough. Your favorite monks, they're not here in Sri Lanka enough. Always fault-finding. That fault-finding mind causes restlessness. Instead of finding fault with what you're experiencing right now and trying to fix it, have this beautiful idea of just letting it, leaving it alone. In Australia, I am a very, very busy monk sometimes. I have many monasteries I have to look after. I just can't just travel freely. I have big monasteries in Australia, building up the Bhikkhuni Sangha in Australia, which is really important in Sri Lanka. Don't forget the Bhikkhunis. They were started by the Lord Buddha. It was the Buddha's aim from the very beginning. We should have equality. We haven't got enough teachers here in Sri Lanka, and if we have Bhikkhunis and Bhikkhuni teachers, we double the number of Sangha and teachers here. So please, I'm really working hard to establish Buddhism just as it was in the time of the Buddha. Bhikkhus, Bhikkhunis, Arahats, Anagamis, strong laymen, laywomen, meditating, not just offering dana, but meditating and keeping their precepts. That is my mission, to re-establish Buddhism as it was in the time of the Buddha, in its purity. And so this is what we are trying to do. And we're trying to be kind to all parts of society. And we're trying to stop this wandering mind. And I'm working so hard that sometimes I'll be working, teaching all weekend, and then going back to my aranya on a Sunday afternoon, and then working Monday to Friday in my aranya, working the weekends in my city temple, traveling around, getting no rest. And one day someone came to visit my aranya, and they said, "This is such a peaceful monastery. It's so beautiful here." And I looked at them and said, "Peaceful? This monastery isn't peaceful. There's so much work to do. Beautiful? There's so many paths need to be swept. So many buildings need to be fixed. So many people asking me questions. This isn't peaceful. This is a work camp." And then I realized it was my mistake. So I changed my attitude. Every Monday morning after that, for quite a long time, I would spend the morning pretending to be a visitor to my monastery, not the abbot. I was just a visitor. So when I saw a path which was dirty and needed to be swept, not my problem. I don't live here, I'm only visiting. When the monks had a problem, sorry, I'm only visiting. I'm not the teacher today. And when I became a visitor, not an owner, my monastery became peaceful again. And my monastery became beautiful. And it taught me a big lesson. When you own things, you can't rest. There's always something to be done. When you realize you're only visiting, you can enjoy having no work to be done. When you visit somebody else's house and they give you some tea, do you wash up the teacups afterwards? When you go to somebody's house and have a nice garden party, do you mow the lawn afterwards? It's not your house. You don't have to do anything. You can relax and enjoy. When you're a visitor, you can have peace. When you're an owner, you always have work to be done. So when you come into the present moment, only a visitor, not an owner, then you can let go and relax. That is the only time you can have some peace. Try that when you go home. Spend 1 hour being a visitor. Even if you have maids, I'm not going to tell the maid, I don't live here, I'm only visiting. And then you can really enjoy and understand what I mean. An owner is a fault finder and will never have any peace. You're a visitor to your mind, a visitor to your body. You don't own it. So you can be in the present moment, let it go. Because without enjoyment, you will have restlessness. If you're not happy here, your mind will go somewhere else to find happiness. So that contentment, kindness, no fault finding is the key to stillness. Stops you wandering around. So when you're in the present moment, Please appreciate it. At last, you don't have to make thoughts, fix up the past, worry about the future. You are free. You're out of the prison of time. Time owns too many people, controls you. For me, in the present moment, I feel so free. I don't have to worry when I come to Sri Lanka. Other people look at me and say, time, stop it. Not me, I don't worry. It's other people's problems. Why? Because I'm a visitor, not an owner. So that way we can learn how to have some peace in our meditation. Have you noticed, with all I've taught so far, it's nothing to do with I haven't mentioned what you have to do in meditation. It's all about your attitude to meditation, how you look at the meditation, learning how to put things down, let things go. Let go of the past, let go of the future, be kind to it, watch it vanish, be a visitor to this present moment. Enjoy this moment. I don't have to do any work. All my responsibilities and whatever line of work you have, now you don't have those responsibilities. Freedom at last. When you appreciate that freedom, the mind stays in this present moment. And as you relax more and more, you are doing less and less work. First of all, I think the percentage is about 70% of your energy, your physical energy, is used in your brain. You wouldn't believe how much energy you waste thinking, planning, remembering stupid stuff. That is why you are tired. You think too much, you worry too much, you plan too much. Imagine what it's like spending half an hour, even 15 minutes, being in the present moment, no worries, no concerns, being at peace. It's like going on holiday. That's one of the reasons whenever I teach a meditation retreat, I don't call it a meditation retreat. I call it Club Med. Club Meditation. So this, today, is Club Med Colombo. And it's much cheaper and much happier as well. Believe me, you'll soon find out. So welcome everybody to Club Med Colombo today. So that makes the idea that this is a happy time in meditation. Once you stay in the present moment and you are content with it, energy, instead of being wasted in thinking, goes into your mindfulness. And mindfulness gets brighter and brighter and brighter. Mindfulness is important. There's many levels of mindfulness, and here we're encouraging strong mindfulness, powerful mindfulness. And when you have strong mindfulness, it's always accompanied by happiness. Have you ever noticed that some of you get up in the morning and you need a strong cup of tea or cup of coffee before you're happy? Some of you get up and worry, oh God, what time is it? Oh no, I have to go to work again. Oh no. You have a cup of tea and coffee and you feel bright and happy again. That is an indication where happiness comes from energy. And if you have strong energy in your mind through stillness, you will find happiness comes automatically. You're sitting here in the present moment and you feel so peaceful, so happily peaceful. Please, in meditation, cultivate and cherish that happiness. Do not be afraid of it. That happiness is not going to make you attached, it's going to make you liberated. In the Pasadika Sutra of the Digha Nikaya, the Buddha says anybody who gets attached to the happiness of meditation can only expect one of 4 results. This is what happens if you get attached to the happiness of meditation. The four possibilities, and the only four possibilities are so what? Sakadagami, Anagami, or full Arahat. That's the only four possibilities if you start to indulge in the happiness of meditation. And that's what we're supposed to be doing. That's why many people, they sometimes ask me, what are the dangers of meditating? Especially meditating in the way I teach. And I say there's only one danger. If you meditate, get happiness, get jhanas. That danger is, if you get these jhanas, the danger is, and it probably will happen to you, you might lose all your hair. Like me, and like the monks and nuns. You might renounce and become a monk or a nun, because it makes so much sense to you. And don't ever think that being a monk or a nun is just so boring. This is the happiest thing I could have ever done. This gives you so much joy, so much happiness, so much fulfillment. It's incredible honor and blessing to have ordained as a bhikkhu. The best thing I could have ever done in my whole life. Helping so many people now, having so much happiness inside. I truly recommend it. And if you can get into these jhanas, basically you'll have no choice. You want to be monk or nun. And you will have the best time, not the best time of your life, the best time of many of your lives. That's how great this is. So, you're meditating, happiness in this present moment, and then amazing things start to happen. What happens is your body disappears. You can't feel your head. You can't feel your legs. There's no itches on the body. Because when things are still, they disappear. The air conditioner in this room, now you can hear it. In a few seconds' time, you will not be able to hear the air conditioner in this room. The reason is because it doesn't change. Your brain is only made to notice things which change. If they're common, constant, then it disappears. Because your body is still, the body vanishes. Because you're meditating in a reasonably quiet place, sound doesn't sort of change, and the sound turns off. You can't hear anymore. But the one thing which is still moving, when everything else disappears, is your breathing. This is why the Buddha taught breath meditation. Because whether you look for your breath or not, whether you focus on it or not, it comes by itself anyway. Because it's the last thing moving when everything else is very calm. So you can feel your breath. And if you do it properly, the breath is so delightful. Note some people come to Sri Lanka on holiday and they go to these beautiful beaches and they sit on the beach just watching the waves come in and the waves go out. The waves come in and the waves go out. And they pay a lot of money for that privilege because you've got a very beautiful country. Why is it so peaceful? Because nothing much is happening, just waves coming in, waves going out. Like watching your breath. Breath coming in, breath going out. Breath coming in, breath going out without a care in the world. That is delightful if you can notice it. Cultivate it and cherish the delight of just having a simple breath to watch. That delight with the breath is crucial to the deeper states of meditation. Please enjoy the meditation. It's the happiest thing I could have ever done in my life, to meditate. It is the joy, it is the pleasure of the Buddhist monks and nuns. Meditate. We don't need to watch movies. We don't need to watch the cricket. We don't need to watch the World Cup soccer. We just go and watch our breath. Cricket, soccer, sometimes your team loses. The breath always wins. So I just watch the breath go in, go out, happy. That's a delight in meditation. And when people in places like Australia start to delight in meditation, they keep coming to the temple again and again and again and again because they enjoy coming to the temple. They enjoy Buddhism. They can't get enough of it because it is happy right here and now, not waiting for some future life in heaven. Right now, you are happy. Examples. On one retreat which I taught in Perth a year ago, an executive from Sydney came to the retreat which I taught. She had to beg from her boss to have a week off. Business is just so tense and there's so much to do that the boss said, no, we can't let you go. We can't afford to have you missing for a week. You have to stay. She begged and groveled until her boss gave in. She came on my retreat. She went back again. A day later, after returning, she sent me an email saying, when I came back to work, my boss looked at me and said, you are so happier. What drug did they give you in that monastery in Perth? Whatever it was, please bring me back some next time. Of course, this is not drugs. People in today's world think the only way you can be happy is by taking alcohol and drugs. That's not the way to be happy. That causes so many physical and social problems. If you really want to be happy, if you want your youth to be happy, teach them how to meditate to the point they get incredible happiness inside their hearts, just watching the breath go in, the breath go out. Oh, so nice, so peaceful. They don't want to be disturbed. That's what meditation does. But it doesn't stop there. As the former US President Ronnie Reagan used to say, you ain't seen nothing yet. In other words, there's far better stuff to come. Because eventually the breath gets so peaceful and so joyful, it vanishes. It disappears. And when the breath vanishes, these beautiful lights appear in the mind, the nimittas. And if you haven't been happy yet, now you really get happy, really blissful. You're getting to powerful states of mind. And if you can cultivate that, the bliss turns into the incredible ecstasies of the jhanas. More bliss than you ever thought you could handle. More peace and more stillness. And as I said to a few people over the last few days, this is the season of Poson. And on Poson, we remember the Arahat Mahinda bringing the teaching of the Buddha to Sri Lanka. And I always noted the first teaching which the Arahat Mahinda gave the king Dewanampiyatis was the Chula Hattipadopama Sutta, talking about the 4 footprints of the Buddha. You know the 4 footprints of the Buddha? First jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana. The jhanas. Have a look at it again, and that's what you will see. So when you experience these jhanas, you are literally standing in the footprints of the Buddha, experiencing what the Buddha experienced. It usually gives me goosebumps to say this, even so many years as a monk. If a person gets into jhanas, they are experiencing what the Buddha experienced. Last night I told the monks, I asked them, how many of you have traveled to the 4 holy places of Buddhism? It was a trick question, because I did not mean Lumbini, where the Buddha was born. I didn't mean Bodh Gaya, where the Buddha was enlightened. I didn't mean the deer park in, outside of Benares, where the Buddha gave his first sermon, or Kusinara, where the Buddha passed away. Those aren't where the Buddha lived. That's where his body was born and died and did these things. The place where the Buddha spent most of his time were the 4 holy places of Buddhism. 1st jhana, 2nd jhana, 3rd jhana, and 4th jhana. So if you want to visit the 4 holy places, the path is open to you. You do not need an air ticket. You do not need to carry any baggage. In fact, you are prohibited from even taking on cabin baggage. No baggage is allowed on the path to the jhanas. And you feel what the Buddha felt. That is possible these days. That's why I teach this. And I am constantly amazed at the sort of people who actually achieve these jhanas. About 8-9 months ago, at a retreat I taught, a meditation retreat I taught in Australia, this man came to the retreat with tattoos all over his body, with long hair. He looked like one of these hell's angels. And I really thought he got the wrong place. This is a meditation retreat, not the BMICH clubhouse. And that was my mistake. That was me judging a person. He may have looked very rough on the outside, but during that retreat, he was the star meditator. And when he came to see me one day and describe his experiences, I was just so overjoyed. Yes, that was a jhana. Well done. When I see people like that, who haven't been Buddhists very long, who live a very rough lifestyle, but on the inside, very pure, but just on the outside look very rough, and see them get experiences of jhanas, that impresses me. The door is open to each one of you in the other halls as well. All you need to do is learn how to put things down, let things go, and it works. And the other thing, please, don't be afraid of the happiness. Develop it. So when you get happy meditation, you really get into it, it's delightful, and from there it takes off deeper and deeper, more and more peaceful, more and more powerful, and you have these incredible experiences. And later on today, maybe I'll say what happens next. Again, like Ronnie Reagan, after the jhanas, you ain't seen nothing yet. There's more to come. On episode 2 of The Path to Enlightenment.